L'Jarius Sneed is going to get franchise tag. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to use the franchise tag on him, which has several ramifications. Number one, means they're not going to use it on Chris Jones.
Right.
We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Right.
But also attached to that was the report that they're not just tagging Sneed to keep him around and get a long-term deal done and buy time. They're potentially tagging him to trade him and to move him on and allow him to explore the market. So I guess the first thing is, what do you make of that move, and who's going to be the trade partner?
Yeah, I think it's obviously interesting. They want to get a more long-term deal done with Chris Jones. So the fact that they're not kind of keeping that franchise tag to tag him, to me, that makes sense, because I feel like you'd want to be more flexible with a lot of money that you're going to have to pay him. You have a little bit more control when you're able to get something done long-term. And I think that they want to do that with Chris Jones. Not that L'Jarius Sneed's a bad player. I think that he's a fantastic player. And I think the part of this conversation that I want to have with you when we talk about potential teams that could trade for him, because let's face it, every team in the NFL wants good corners. So, in theory, every team in the NFL would want a L'Jarius Sneed.
Right.
But what is the price going to be? Do you feel like it's going to be that maybe back half of the first round or early second round type of a pick, maybe like an early second round or something? How high do you think the compensation is for him there? Because that's the first part of the conversation. And then the other one, where we can narrow down some suitors, is cap space, obviously.
Yeah, I feel generally when we talk about first-round picks, that we're talking about future drafts where they're all kind of the same, right? We're talking a first-round pick, and we think of that as the middle of the first round. But now the draft is weeks away, and several teams are not in that position. The Giants, I'm sure, would love a cornerback, but their first-round pick is number 6 overall.
They're not going to trade that.
Right, so they're not giving that away for a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. So I think you're right. In this specific example where we are talking about a guy or the draft that's upcoming, it sort of tops out in the middle of that first round. But I think that's also probably what the Chiefs are looking for, is that first round pick somewhere in the middle, maybe the bottom of the first round. And then if you are a team like the Giants or somebody like that, Arizona, that wants to spend, maybe you're trying to package something that's equivalent to a middle first round pick rather than using your top first round pick on it.
Right, yeah. So I think that we're probably in that same category. I wonder if he's talented enough, I think, to get traded for a back-end first-round pick. But I wonder if just the contract situation of having to deal with the sign and trade part of him being on the franchise tag, and then knowing that if you are spending such a high pick on him, you're not going to do that for like a rental. So, okay, right. Well, now you're talking about, okay, now we have to sign him long-term after this. So I wonder if it's going to be closer to a second-round pick. If it's a late second-round pick, probably a late second-round pick, and some other draft compensation, whether it's a future selection, an early, day 3 pick. But if it's an earlier second-round selection, then maybe that's just enough to get the deal done for some teams. But to me, I'd kind of be shocked if he gets a first-round pick, just because of all the money that would have to come with him being on the tag, and then the money that you got to commit to him to make that trade work.
Yeah, I kind of view it the way that the Eagles and the Titans trade with A.J. Brown is, though. Like, if you're already in the cornerback market, if you're a team right now that's being mocked a first-round corner, this should be of interest to you, right?
Sure.
It's more costly.
Sure.
You have to be willing to do the contract as well, and you're probably going to have to make him like the best-paid cornerback in the NFL. But you are getting an elite level player at a position that's clearly of need. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about you in terms of drafting these corners. So
right.
I think that can push it definitely into the first round. I think there's a lot of these teams that are picking in the back half of the first round for whom it makes a lot of sense. In particular, I mentioned Arizona before. They have a top pick in the top 5 picks, their own pick, but they have that Houston pick that ended up being number 27 overall.
Sure.
Arizona needs defense desperately everywhere. So Arizona could be a team that brings in a L'Jarius Sneed, who isn't just good. I mean, that's one selling point to him, but he's incredibly versatile. Like, he can play well in man schemes, zone schemes. I think he's probably a little bit better as a man-to-man corner, but he fits every defense in the league, and he can play in the slot, out wide. Like, he's a perfect fit for any team.
Yeah, and Arizona is interesting as well, because they draft Garrett Williams last year, who I like when he's healthy, so I like him being on the roster, but I'm not so sure he's going to be a CB1 for you.
Right.
And Arizona is also very interesting because, okay, you mentioned they have that number 27 overall pick. They also have 35 at the beginning of the second round. They have 3 third-round picks and then a 4th-round pick as well, so a ton of flexibility there. They also have a good amount of cap space. I believe they're top 10 in the NFL when it comes to effective cap space that we're projected to have from them. And so they're definitely in that conversation. I think Arizona could be a potential target for them. Some other spots, Detroit is a team that has a decent amount of cap space as well. I think we continually mock cornerbacks to Detroit in all of our mock draft. They're sitting there at number 29, so maybe that could be worth it for them. And that's a team who I could see paying more of that premium draft capital price because they are in that winning window, right?
Sure.
That is one of their few roster holes that they have left, and they really have an opportunity to take a stab at the Super Bowl next year. So I think that adding a player that is experienced in that realm, that is a Super Bowl champion and a versatile dude like L'Jarius Sneed makes a lot of sense. So Detroit is also some team that I would throw out there. What do you think about – here's one that's very interesting because when you were talking about teams that we mock corners to, what do you think about Indianapolis? Because Indianapolis, they're picking at 15, and I think that's kind of high, but they really need a corner there. They have the cap space to do it. The Colts have the 5th most projected effective cap space according to Over the Cap. And so is that a team, like is 15 too high? Because their second round pick is 46, and if you're doing 46, then you probably got to do 46 and something else. But we think they're going to take a corner as an option at number 15. What do we think about that?
Yeah, it is potentially a little bit high in the draft pick, but you can also balance that a little bit, with playing around with late round picks that come back in either way. You can move the value of it a little bit. So even if you're giving up 15, you're getting a later pick back, and the overall sort of chart is going to put that down a little bit. The first thing to do if you're going to determine whether or not the Colts are interested is fire up L'Jarius Sneed's measurables and find out if he is a 99th percentile athlete. Otherwise, they're immediately out, right? As it happens, it turns out we're in luck, right? 93rd percentile broad jump, 95th percentile vertical jump, 40-yard dash, 95th percentile. He's exactly the type of athlete that the Colts are interested in. So that's a good shout. I like that one.
Yeah.
Let me throw 2 more teams at you in terms of precedent. The Philadelphia Eagles, the team that made that A.J. Brown trade and decided we need wide receiver. They've got enough to make it happen. We needed a wide receiver. We're going to spend a first-round pick on our wide receiver. That's how we're getting it done.
You're right.
We need a cornerback now. Let's go spend a first-round pick on a cornerback. Let's make it happen that way. And then the other team with precedent, the Los Angeles Rams finally have a first-round draft pick and a need at cornerback. So let's trade it away
try to get him to trade it away?
Yep. Let's do it.
No, I mean, I don't love those two. I see where you're coming from. Obviously, I think there's potential there. The Eagles won. I know Howie did do this with A.J. Brown.
Right.
Is he going to do that for 22 to pay Sneed and then give him a bigger contract? I don't know, man. I just don't know if he's going to do it.
It fits.
They have done it before, so it's hard for me.
They've done it before, but it also fits the way they treat roster construction, right? They pay the valuable position.
It's true.
Right? So
it's
trenches, cornerback, wide receiver. Don't spend on linebacker, running back, safety. It fits with what they want to do, and with the way Bradbury had his season last year, the massive decline, Slay getting on. It makes some sense.
Right. I think. In my heart, you say Philadelphia, and I go, no, they're not going to do that. But then in my head, like you said, I have to think about, they've kind of already done this. They've actually already made this move. So Philly is definitely a shout out there as well that I think could be a potential. I think people are going to, in the comments, are going to talk about Baltimore.
Right.
I don't think Baltimore has the cap space to be able to do it. Sure, the late first-round pick fits, but
when you factor in that they are likely to tag Justin Madubuike, which is going to take a sledgehammer to their salary cap.
I don't think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to be able to make this move, even if they wanted to. What about the Niners? Where's the Niners cap space? They got to be close to the cap floor.
They are currently over the
salary
so
cap. I think the Niners would also. Right. I love them. Probably don't have a chance to go get them. So to me, I think Detroit makes the most sense. Detroit's my. If I've got a rooting interest, if it's he's getting traded no matter what, Detroit would be my go here, and I think it makes the most sense.